Hey, I'm Remy Pearson, and welcome to this episode of BraveHeart, a conversation where we're going to be diving deep with a really wonderful man. Bryan Reeves has written the book, Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. And I enjoyed the book, and I've been enjoying his podcast and just loving the fact that we are finally having conversations about the skills needed for both of us to show up in the relationship. So the emotional heavy lifting isn't always left to the feminine energy, a conversation that is way overdue and is happening more and more. And I just love that. And so Bryan and I speak in depth about his book, Choose Her Every Day, and about topics that are just front of mind for so many people who are recognizing that intimacy and depth is missing in their relationships. And they're asking themselves, why? What's going on? So in this conversation with Bryan, he's a former military man. So his background is anything but any of this. He is someone who I think would self-describe as previously very shut down when it comes to having conversations that matter for the relationship to move into the rich, fertile territory of thriving and intimacy and depth and a feeling of we're just seen and heard and known by each other. Achieving that can't be left simply to the feminine energy, generally the female. It just doesn't work that way. And so Bryan speaks in a blog that became very viral. It had millions of views, called Choose Her Every Day. And just his awakening around it's not working. What I've been doing is train wrecking relationships. I go from relationship to relationship thinking they need to change into me. If they're more like me, then everything's fine. And this is, as he recognized, such limited thinking. So he's got a background completely ungeared and unsupported for the journey he's now on. He's now works in this space, working with men in his Elevate program. He's got his book, he's got his podcast, and his messaging is all around helping men specifically with what is it they need to wrestle with, come to terms with, embrace, learn, and get skilled in, so that this disconnect that happens in 60% of marriages leading to divorce, and let's not even count the stats of the 40% who are left who aren't happy, because it's not 40% remaining are all delighted. He's addressing that directly and saying, well, men, this is what we're not turning up with, and this is what is needed for this to heal and for this breach to be healed over and for us to come together. So his blogs have been featured around the world. He's been a guest on so many podcasts talking about this message. We dive into, we open with talking about how finally this is a conversation that's happening and what's been preventing the conversation. We talk about the paradox of change, where we say we've got to accept and love the person as they are, but if they don't change, I can't accept. How do we handle that? What is it we're looking at and attending to so that we can be authentically ourselves and also grow into who we need to for this to happen, this interdependence, healthy, resourceful relationship to occur? We dive deeply into masculine and feminine energy and what they comprise of, their differences, and what needs to happen for them to be able to come together, not just in a working collaboration, but in deep intimacy. We talk about the skills that need to be learned for intimacy, that relationships aren't 50-50, it's 100% and 100%. The importance of, there is clear research showing that the masculine energy not being influenced by the feminine is pretty well a relationship disaster. We look at his 4 steps to navigating difficult conversations. We dived very deeply into that and did some role plays around it. And we look at the 3 stages of love and so much more. We do the conversation a lot of justice, but I'd still say it doesn't do as much justice as his book. Obviously, I always believe that. What we can cover in an hour or so is nothing compared to getting up personally and up nice and close with the author. So without further ado, here is my wonderful guest today on this episode of BraveHeart, Mr. Bryan Reeves. Bryan, thank you for being here. One of the things that I am excited about is I am noticing more and more men having conversations about how to show up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say specifically, not just masculine energy, which I know is the way to say it very correctly, but I'm going to say it as it is. I'm seeing more men showing up for this conversation. I love it, Bryan.
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? It's pretty fantastic.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I run a program called Elevate Your Relationship, specifically for men. And I'll tell you, I'm always marveling at, I'll have a Zoom room full of, right now we're about 20 men going through this cohort, and I'll sit there and I'll look at this screen of beautiful men, and we're talking about our relationships.
Yes.
It is not lost on me, and I'm a former military officer.
Yes,
I was an Air Force captain, and it is not lost on me what we're up to, and it's pretty cool.
The other thing, I've been in coaching and coach trainer for 20 years now. When I began this, I would have men say, my men students, I want to coach men on relationships, and they would struggle to get clients. There would not be, men were not searching for answers to problems they didn't even know they had in their relationship. They thought it was her problem. And now some of those men coaches are able to create a posse around them of men who are starting to ask the same questions that has been left to the women traditionally to ask. And so it's not just you experiencing this, there's more and more people looking for these answers, and not just masculine energy, Bryan, specifically men. And that's what I love.
Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it?
It's a thing.
I will say, traditionally, since I started blogging and writing about relationships back in 2012, since then, predominantly my audience has been women. You look at my stats, if you will, the 80 to 85% typically are women. But 15% of my audience, that's a lot of men all the same. That's still a lot of men. And yes, more and more men are just realizing we're hitting our bottom in so many ways. We're realizing that I not only can't I figure this out alone, I'm not supposed to.
No.
I'm not supposed to figure this out by myself. And I think it's very humbling for a lot of men. A lot of men finally come to this work. Look, I came to this work after having my ass handed to me in relationship over and over and over again, and wondering, what's the common denominator here? Well, damn it, it's me. So I think more and more men are just realizing, and that we have work to do. And I think also more and more men are, as I did, are deciding, I refuse to suck at love for the rest of my life. So it's a beautiful thing that's happening. And the other
thing I'd say that's maybe not as beautiful but happening is more women are saying, don't have to take it. Don't have to endure being invisible. Don't have to not be seen. Don't have to not be heard. Don't have to not be understood. I actually now expect that and won't settle for less. And what one generation ago, that comment would have been dismissed. You're too emotional. You're too much. You're too sensitive. Only now is that being yelled around the world, and it's not being dismissed anymore. That we are the first generation, however you want to call that, cohort, where it's not a women's issue. It's not just the feminine who's lost her mind. It's this. Literally 200 years ago, I could have been put in a mental institution for hysteria for having these ideas. And now it's just, no, we need you to show up, man. We need you to have a voice. We need you to be engaged in this relationship the way that makes me feel safe, loved, belonged, understood, and that I matter. I'm not going to take less. What are you going to do? And they're looking for answers for the first time.
Well, it's a very symbiotic relationship, isn't it? Because as women one of the chapters in my book, Choose Your Everyday Reliever, one of the chapters is, sometimes the title of the chapter is, sometimes the best thing a woman can do for a man is leave him.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's in the leaving, it's in what you just said, it's in her saying yes to herself and saying no to what
Yes.
doesn't serve
Yes.
her.
Yes.
A man is called into a greater level of his own being. Now some men refuse that call. Many men still
They
refuse
do.
that call. They refuse it as long as we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I refused it for decades because I didn't understand what was happening.
You were never
But
shown.
I was never shown. I was
It
never
was
shown.
never a required skill set for growing up for men. And that's the fourth point for men. We are now approaching in the first cohort of generation where boys are not being raised with the expectancy to shut down their emotions, just to
Yeah.
get on with it. Big, boys don't cry. It's the first generation where that's not an expectation. But anything prior to this, you had such a cultural stigma placed upon you around vulnerability and equating to weakness. Showing up wholeheartedly and embodying emotions made you, there were names for that were
right. Yep.
really unkind names that I would never say.
Yeah.
And it was considered totally normal trash talk in a locker room to put you in your place if you dared to embody what is considered traditionally female or feminine. And so there's all of this wash of a tide of what men are needing to overcome in terms of what's expected of them, what their fathers still insist for them, what their brothers don't understand, what their sporting teams act like don't matter, what the media message is still saying is what a man is. Yet through that, men are still opening their eyes and saying, I don't think it has to be or needs to be or could ever be like this and be healthy.
Yeah. I went to a sporting event not too long ago, and a man a few rows up ahead of me, something happened on the field, and he screamed out, "Oh, stop crying, you little bitch!"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, it's still very alive and well. Those messages are still
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
alive and well. And I'm 48, and so I'm a product of the generation of still boys don't cry and don't be all those things, and essentially don't be a girl. It was the message I got. Don't be a girl, basically,
Yeah.
in all the different ways that might come out. And I'm with my wife now 7 years, and my wife and I, we navigate this challenge. Again, I'm also former military. The military certainly does a number on men and women in terms of separating our heads from our bodies. And my wife and I, look, I'm in the practice, I'm in the work of increasing my emotional capacity, of increasing my capacity for empathy, to be with all of my wife's emotions. And it's still really difficult for me. It's like it's a wound that I live with in my life. And now I've come a long way through all kinds of different practices and modalities over the years, and all. And it's still something that I hold and I carry. And fortunately, because my wife and I, we can talk about it. And likewise, I mean, she too, a woman nearing 40, she also got the message that her feelings are not okay, her emotions are not welcome. It's a rabbit hole. I don't know how far down we want to go this rabbit hole, but just
I can go very deep.
I don't doubt that. I just wonder, I know there's a lot of places we want to go, but I'm astonished too about how many young girls were abused, hit by their fathers, sometimes their mothers, for just having emotions, for laughing, for expressing joy. I mean, and then
or isolated when they needed connection more than anything.
Oh yeah,
that was the big one. If you're going to be like that, go to your room. So if you're going to be in need of comfort, reassurance, acceptance, love, and understanding, go and be alone and don't learn ever how to co-regulate. And so one of the things in your book the book that I spoke about in the introduction is Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. And it came from a blog that went unbelievably millions of people viral.
Mhm.
If I was to say, there are many themes in your book, Bryan, but one of them is you don't just deal with the masculine energy and how it needs to show up and learn that, but also validating the feminine energy is not one of isolation. We cannot, in the feminine energy, process it all alone and still say we need a man.
Mm.
If we're going to be together and I can do it all myself, and I'm going to keep being sent away like I was by my parents, go to your room, don't be with me if you're going to be emotional. The question women are saying now, well, why be with a man if I'm going to be denied the same way I've always been denied? What if we change that? That's one of the themes that comes through in your book. And I've highlighted places where you've said not just what the masculine energy needs to do, but that the feminine energy is validated, is allowed, is more than permitted, needs to be encouraged, is welcome in this space. I love how you've, even though this seems to be a book possibly for the masculine energy, you've balanced it out with a very strong message to women. Feminine, bring your emotionality. Don't turn yourself down for us.
Yeah. Well, a big inspiration for writing this book over the years that it took me to write it was I don't think I was necessarily intentionally trying to do this, but this was my journey as a man, awakening to intimacy, to relationship, to both my masculinity and my femininity, to all the parts of me, was also to look across at all of the women that I had been partnered with, that I had just made a mess of things with, and in a way to say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't see what I can now see. And this is what I see. This is what you were trying to tell me. This is what I understand now, that, okay, my ex-girlfriends were rarely skillful in their communications, no more skillful than I was. And still though, I get now what I didn't get then.
Yes.
That had I understood what they were really asking me for, this like connection, just to connect with me, everything could have been different for me. And so a lot of that is infused in the book, the recognition of what I now understand my girlfriends were asking of me, for me, from me, and also wanted to give to me, that I resisted and rejected in so many ways. And so I think one of the things that I feel really deeply good about with the book is that I think when women read it, it seems to be very validating.
Yes, very. And importantly so, because I feel we are in the first, as I said, generation where to be validated for how we show up is wonderful. But now I want to talk about the dichotomy, the paradox that I see. I have listened to so many of your podcasts. And so I recommend you go check out the podcast Men This Way. I've listened to, I think, 10 of them. And sometimes I'm not always clear. I want to dive in. I hear this message. We don't want to make the man, the masculine. Can I talk in shorthand? The man, because it's 80% of the time,
that's fine.
It's the man. So we're told we don't want to try and change the man. However, if we want connection, he's going to need to change. Right. And I don't think that came as clear. I was listening to one podcast with Mark Groves, and I was yelling at you. Just say it. Just say the words. Because you guys, you were kind of circling it, saying, yeah, we don't want to be changed and we've got to accept people as we are. Wait a minute. Yes. And if accepting the man means being alone, unvalidated, isolated, in my pain, and not being heard or seen, hell no.
Well, I don't remember that specific conversation with Mark, but I will say this. I really get that doing relationship well is a paradox. It is a dance of paradox. It is of course, we all want to be accepted for who we are. I think I was looking through some of your videos and writing, and one of the videos that you put out is well, I think it was speaking to family, or just to being who we are. Like, the privilege of a lifetime is to be who we are. Why put ourselves around people who don't accept us for who we are? right? So
Yes.
I think as a
So
foundational
I've got that one. Got that.
stance, it got that exactly. Now,
Now.
so comma,
And
and and if we are going to be relational, and to do that well, we must accept that the relationship, it must influence who we be. I must be influenced by my partner's sensitivities. I must be, let's say, I must be influenceable by my
yes.
partner's sensitivities. I must be adaptable by what her needs are, what comes up for her. If I'm not able to adapt, to be attuned, to be mindful, to be present with what is real and alive for her in the moment, and whatever her wounds, trauma, sensitivities, needs, desire, whatever the things are. If I'm just standing in my rigid stance of, and I've done this, spent a lot of years doing this, well, you just need to accept me as who I am, that relationship ain't going to go well.
Nope.
It's just not going to go well. And I've experienced it personally. So I get it viscerally.
Yeah.
But if my partner demands that it's the paradox. If she demands that I change, I'm going to resist that, because now I'm just changing for her.
Yes.
But if she, and I think my wife does this pretty well. And yeah, and we've had our, like any couple, who's together any duration of time, right? You have your challenges. It's messy. It takes time. It's very messy. But when she can be, I like to use the word invitation in relationship versus obligation. When my wife can stand as an invitation to relationship with her versus obligation. In other words, I have to change to be with her, versus if I'm going to be with her, I need to change. That's a very different orientation. It's very subtle,
Yeah.
but it's different. It gives me agency. It gives me choice. I think that's the little distinction there. Yes, I can't be the same person that I was 7 years ago if I'm going to have a good relationship with my wife. I just can't. I tried. It didn't go well in the beginning.
So my take on it, when I was listening to this, I listened to a couple of them. My take's a little different. I think we are here to be accepted for who we truly are. But as you have spoken about many times, who we truly are at our center is a consciousness that is creative, compassionate, loving, open, available, adventurous. And then the man might say, or the masculine energy may say, you can't make me change. But what I say is, I don't believe you're being your authentic self when you are closed down, rigid, not listening, and not available to tune into my concern. So I don't think you're being your truest self. I think you're being the facsimile that you were taught in childhood to be, to keep yourself safe from harm, the harm of being judged, being ridiculed, being mocked, being shamed for being feminine. So I think for all of us, we wear a mask. And for men, the mask is of one particular type in general. Not all men, not all the time, not everywhere. But men generally are taught to wear one mask. It is one of leader, solve problems, have answers, don't do vulnerability. Emotions are for other people, and I get to be kind of judgy about it if it gets a little bit out of hand. To take away that mask is the invitation. That's what the invitation is, to remove the mask so we can be available to the true, authentic connection. And Bryan, if we don't do that, this connection is with a mask. It's with a false self.
Well, I love the poetry of what you're speaking. I love the poetry of it. In the abstract, I'm with you 100%. When we get into, let's talk practical application. I want to go to Burning Man. Like, I'm a Burning Man guy, and my wife does not feel comfortable with me going to Burning Man at this point.
Yep.
How do you reconcile that? My truth is to go to Burning Man, just as an example, right? Her truth is, no fucking way will I feel safe if you go to Burning Man. And that's a very, very common dilemma that many couples face. I mean, I worked with a couple who they just a few weeks before their wedding date, they were terrified of their wedding night because, and I won't go into the long story of it, I'll stick with the short story. she had a medical condition that chronic fatigue syndrome, and she was certain that she would be exhausted by 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Well, it was his wedding night, and all of his friends and family were flying in from across the country. He had moved across the country to be with her, and all his friends and family were coming across the country. And he's like, there's no way I'm going to bed with you at 8 p.m. and this night of celebration when I've given up everything to be with you, and now all of my people are coming to be with me for this weekend. You know, she's like, it's our wedding night. We have to go to bed at 8 p.m. because I'm going to be exhausted, and it's my wedding night. How could you not go to bed with your newlywed wife on your wedding night? And he's over here thinking, how could you expect me to go to bed at 8 p.m. when all of my people are coming? You know, so this was a real dilemma that this couple faced. And who's being authentic? I don't know, maybe they're both in their guardedness. They're both in their pain. They're both in their fear. They're both in their, I need you to go along with my plan so that I can be okay, right? I mean, we could certainly make that argument that both are in a defended, walls up, demanding, childlike state almost. But that was a real dilemma that this couple faced. And, and obviously I can't give them an answer. I can't tell them what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is. But what I was able to do was give them a question to sit inside of. Just a good question to sit inside of. And the question was, and it's a question that I give a lot of couples, and I think it's one of the most powerful questions. I live inside this question in my marriage as well. And it was, what would serve we?
Yes.
What would serve we?
That's the question. Yeah.
Right? What would serve we? And I think that the magic in that question is that it invites us, it allows us to not abandon our own needs, our own stuff, whatever that is, our desires, sensitivities, whatever. It allows us to not have to abandon that. And while simultaneously it pulls us into a greater level of consciousness of, okay, there's a third entity here that transcends us, but also includes us. How do we serve that, the relationship, you could say? And I think there's an alchemy that gets created in that. And I'll tell you, for this couple, it was magic. And again, I had no idea what would happen for them, but they came back to me a couple days or a week after the wedding, and they said, Bryan, the most amazing thing happened. Turns out, the wife, the woman, she was filled with so much energy. She was the one that was afraid she'd be exhausted by 8 p.m. She had so much energy that she wanted to dance all night. And the husband had to tell her, it's time to go to bed around 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Because look, I believe what happened in that question was so much energy just got freed up from all the worry and the concern. Maybe you might say the inauthentic self having a grip on each of their realities, their minds, their hearts, their bodies. That in the sitting in that question, what would serve we, something got released, and life just did its thing, and they had a beautiful time together. I mean, they were glowing. There was what could have been a nightmare, and I believe would have been a nightmare.
Very invalidating
on a wedding night that could haunt them for the rest of their life together.
Yeah,
turned into just a beautiful memory that they'll cherish forever because of that question that So it's like, again, it invites both of them to sit in the question. And I think that's the magic when we're able to do that, to say, okay, I'm not going to sell myself out, but I'm not going to expect you to sell yourself out. How the hell do we now dance? Like, let's dance with this, and let's see what happens. We both, in a way, have to change. I mean,
yes.
Yes, there is a change that is required, but how we get there, I think, is such a delicate process that has to be taken.
I think it is delicate. And also, I think if there is such a thing as a masculine energy, it is for the masculine to go first in ensuring that the need for safety in the feminine energy is met. Otherwise, there's no point in the polarity. It's if the question, so for me, what I got from your book and from reading attachment theory is fundamental need for safety and security. That is in all of us, innate in all of us.
No doubt.
To not attend to that need, if the masculine doesn't attend to that need in the feminine first, nothing else can really grow. Because if the woman or the feminine energy, 80% of the time it's female, if we don't feel safe we can't trust. And what the masculine energy needs desperately is to be trusted, to see us. I was reading about it this morning in your book, to see us let go and to wildly give over to the masculine energy. For that to happen, the step before that is safety. So in the example of Burning Man, my question, because I thought it was a question, my question was a little different. I love yours. My question was the masculine asking the feminine, what would help you feel safe? Mm-hmm. If we explore this as a possibility, what is it that you feel isn't safe? Because that question's so rare. The masculine very rarely thinks safety is on the table. Totally. Because they're so busy saying, you just got to trust me. It's not about not trusting you.
That Remy, that drives my wife crazy. When we're watching, it's all over the movies and TV. You know, a woman has just met a man for the very first time, and he's taking her down a dark path, and he's saying, "Trust me." My wife will scream at the TV. Why should she trust you?
Why?
She shouldn't trust you. You haven't earned her trust.
Yes. Yeah.
I get it.
And I think the feminine energy tests the masculine's capability to create a safe nest for us, or a castle with a moat and crocodiles in it. The feminine energy to truly relax and lean into the masculine, and that let go that the masculine craves so much. To earn it, it can't be, I want to go to Burning Man. It needs to be, I can see you don't feel safe. Because if all I get is I want to go to Burning Man, there's going to be resistance. I'll go into my masculine energy because you're not making me feel safe. You're inviting me to step up the debate because you're making it a debate. But if it comes from the place of, I want this and I can see you don't feel safe, and that needs to be the priority for us to even discuss it, I'm leaning in. And I now don't care about Burning Man. You can go to Burning Man because I feel completely, you get me. You get that I didn't feel safe and you validated it and you didn't dismiss it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've gone to chocolate. You get me.
Yeah. You know, on some level, I wonder if it's a chicken or egg kind of question, you know, who goes first, or there's another way of looking at this, of seeing it, that, you know, and I heard a woman articulate this beautifully, that, you know, women these days, as is a beautiful thing, have a lot of women have developed their own masculine capacity. Right, they can take care of themselves. They don't need men's protection like they used to, or resources, or his social influence, like, and that's a beautiful thing. And in order for a woman to let her, it's not her feminine that surrenders to another man's masculine, it's her own masculine that surrenders to another man when he shows up with a masculine presence, so she can let hers down, because now she doesn't have to do it anymore. I mean, we're speaking in very, very broad strokes here, but so, because I think, you know, a lot of men listening to what you just shared, that example of, well, if I just, you know, check in to see what would make her feel safe, and I'm with you 100%. I mean, I agree. The more I can attune to what my wife needs and check in with her and ask her and dance with her in terms of helping her feel safe, the more she will follow me almost anywhere.
Yes.
Eventually, not usually on the timeline I'd prefer, like, which is, you know, immediately. Can we go right now, please? But we'll get there.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. If you pass that first test and you ask me about how I could feel safe around Burning Man, I'm going to then make the test a bit bigger the next time, because you're doing really well. And the more I test you, the more my nest feels safe, because you keep showing up. And if one day I have a hissy fit and you still show up with, hey, babe, I'm loving you, I'm here for you, how can I help you feel safe? I'm like, okay, you are going to keep me safe.
It's definitely very true. I think where things get sticky is because a lot of women haven't been around safe masculine energy, so they had their own, have negotiated or figured out their own defenses, which involves a lot of masculine energy. When that man may muse, you know, have you ever thought about going to Burning Man? And she says, you're never going to Burning Man. There's no way I'm going to Burning Man. You know, her masculine, her warrior comes out, and says, no fucking way, shuts it all down. And very few men have any skill to work with
Yes,
that
that's true.
kind of response.
And in this moment, let's help the 500,000 men that will be listening to this. Let's give them that next skill. Because that woman, when she got banshee on you, is expressing an unmet need and fear.
100%.
That's all she's doing. She's just expressing, my need isn't being met for safety and to be accepted. And if you can see through the banshee and see the fear, and you know, if you can address the fear, she'll relax the banshee, our masculine begins to no longer be needed. We earned the masculine.
Now, so we'll role play this because I love it. I think
that's
a very valuable thing, but I want to also add a caveat, because what she is doing in this moment, unconsciously, although understandable given her lifetime of experience, she is also unskillfully triggering or activating what I call his masculine objection. I write about this in the book, and his masculine objection is, don't tell me what to do. Don't control me.
Yep.
Right? Because the masculine value is freedom. And in the moment she says, you can't do that, it's an arrow right to the heart of the masculine fear, which is, I'm trapped. I am not going to be able to be free in this situation, to be my own man. And that's why, very few men have skill to deal with that situation, because it goes deep to the primal fear. And this is why I say it's a little chicken or egg, because a woman who learns how to not activate his masculine objection, very likely can set a man up to be more successful with her, because she can learn how to keep that objection relaxed, so that if he has some skill or is willing to learn some skill, can then, because his defense isn't in the way, now he can more easily ask the question. But so let's rewind that for a second, because what's happening for her in that moment, the moment he says, have you ever been to Burning Man? I was thinking we should go this year. I went last year and it was amazing. And I think, well, what happens for in this scenario, her feminine objection is likely being triggered or activated. Her feminine objection is, don't you abandon me. Yes. Don't you leave me alone in this. And, Burning Man is, like, for a lot of people, is symbolic of just ultimate freedom. And I know there are a number of women that who aren't a part of that culture, who don't know that culture, immediately see it as a threat to the connection. If he goes there, I'm going to lose him. He's going to be taken off by some adventure or some, Burning Man. I don't think it's
that I'm going to lose him. It's more subtle than that. It's when he's facing all of that, he isn't attending to me.
Or just he isn't present. Exactly. He's not with me. He won't be with me. Exactly.
Yeah. I will be alone, and whatever happens, he won't know.
He won't, because he probably already doesn't know already. And we're not even at Burning Man, and he's already not fully present with me. Then we're going to go there? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
No way, buddy. No way. Not happening. So a skillful response I would encourage that man, take a deep breath. Don't say anything, actually. Shut your mouth for a second. Or 20.
Whatever you say now off the top of your head is coming from the wrong place and is going to make this really, really bad. You're going to end up on the couch if you say your first thoughts.
Speaking from experience. That's right. Yeah. Very painful personal experience. The response from my activated state never goes well, because I'm fighting for my freedom all of a sudden. It's the don't you tell me what to do, or I'll do what I want, or some.
And now for the woman, I'll speak for the woman. If you do that, I now know I'm every right to feel afraid that I'm going to be alone, because you've just proven it.
I left you alone in this moment.
You did it. You made my point. I have every right to be objecting. You've just left me.
I just left you in this moment. I'm in my own stuff.
This is awesome. This is exactly it.
Yeah. So a skillful response, after I've worked to soothe my own nervous system, because that can be activating. I mean, no adult wants to be told what to do. I mean, I think for most adults, the initial reaction to being told what to do is kind of, fuck off, for most adults. Not all. I mean, some people that's not that they can work with that, but I think a lot of us can't. So anyway,
And I think the
breathe.
mature first thought, once we've learned about activation, is, I'll say it again, she's feeling afraid.
100%.
That's her fear. For nearly all women, when we go banshee,
Yeah.
it's a place of fear.
Yeah.
Anger nearly always is fear, hurt, pain of what's going to happen, of what is happening. That's it. And if the man can switch into that, a lot of this gets bypassed.
100%. So, I teach a 4-step process of navigating conflict, and I call it the 4 S's to master repair. The first is see what's actually going on, right? So see, okay, she said something. If I respond unskillfully, okay, now we're in this whole thing. But just seeing what is actually going on versus I call it, getting beneath the level of the complaint. Her complaint is, you can't go to Burning Man. Well, but beneath that is, I'm scared. I'm afraid. I feel I'm afraid. What does this mean for our connection? You're not going to be with me in this. Okay, so I see. Step 2 is stop. That's the stop my mouth from saying what it was about to say. First off, shut it. Zip it, right? Austin Powers.
My producer's laughing here as well. Paul, my producer, is tittering in the background. It's like, yep, just stop.
Just stop it. And breathe. I will often do something in my when I'm go into conflict mode, when my body's activated, and this is again, see the body language. I will cross my arms and turn. I'm defending myself. I'm defending and attacking. Like, I'm literally defending my body, my chest physically by crossing my arms.
Going sideways tells the woman that you can't make me safe right now because you don't know how to make yourself safe. So you've just abandoned me.
Exactly. So I will drop my arms. I'll turn, drop my arms, face her. Now I'm again, to you, what you alluded to earlier, I'm now being present. I'm attuning to her. I'm turning towards her. Breathing. So I'm coming into my body. I'm not running off into my head, which is a very scary place to be when moments like this arise. Dropping into my body, breathing. Just maybe she's said the thing that she said. Maybe she in a lot of cases she's going to continue talking. Like, this is a tough one for men when she keeps going and he doesn't know how to stop her and she's off to the races.
Our word count is 4 times that of men. It's got to go somewhere.
So at some point, because he'll get flooded, we get flooded pretty quickly, and we're also trying to track everything that she's saying. Because that, the specific words that tend to be very important to us. And we want to, for us, integrity means addressing every damn word that's coming out of her mouth and trying to put it into some order and some understanding. And that's futile.
Yes.
And so at some point, that's step 2, stop. Yeah. And it may also be stopping her as well. And stopping with reassurance. Yes. With kindness. It might look like putting my hand on her hand, if that's okay. If that's okay with her, if she's not active. Some women don't want to be touched when they're upset and angry, but I gotta know my woman. I gotta learn her. But for my wife, definitely touching her is very helpful, gently and lovingly. And so touching her and
I want to speak for the woman right now. By you doing that, whatever, because I'm now activated because you just declared you're going to abandon me and leave me for Burning Man. If you do that and you don't turn your body sideways and you do touch my hand or go to reach my hand, even if I reject it, which isn't the point, what you've said to me unconsciously is your need for safety and connection matters to me more than my need to run away and not deal with this. And that is beyond priceless to a relationship.
Yeah.
Too many men think that their priority to run and bail because it's too tough. I can't be bothered. She's not being logical. I'll talk to her when she's calmed down. They're all abandonment. And it's just, like you say in your book, a death by 1,000 cuts starts when turning away and not engaging when we feel our fear. Because if you can't help me when I feel this fear, I'm going to deal with it in a masculine way. And that's going to make you very redundant. That's where we're heading.
Well, what it would do for me in my past relationships is it would turn the two of us into what I call rams on a
Yes.
mountainside.
Yep.
And no woman can out
No
masculine me.
one, and no one's going to win that. That's the relationship is now no longer intimate. It's not deep. It's not trusting. It
Yeah.
can't grow. There's no flourishing can occur. So you turning towards me in that moment, my own activation around the fear of abandonment, you just told me symbolically,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. And that's, so step three. So step one is stop. Step two is see. Step three is soothe.
Yes.
Again, skills. It's a skill. Few
It
of
is a
us
skill.
have soothing skills. Soothing myself by breathing, noticing where I'm activated. I might even soften my face. My face tends to get tight. My throat gets tight. So I'm looking into my own body, my nervous system. How's it showing up in stress? Okay. Ooh, wow, I'm not even breathing. Okay, let me take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
So I'm soothing myself. And now, and I think that the longer we're with someone, the more we learn what they need to soothe, to feel soothed, because not everyone's the same. But also these are questions that we can explore and ask very early
Of
in a
course.
relationship. And I'm with my wife 7 years, and I'm still learning what she needs in different scenarios. I mean, life changes and evolves. There's always some new scenario that we have to wrestle with that we never imagined we'd have to wrestle with. And
Yeah.
and to me, the rules have changed. To her, for some reason, it seems like, no, those are the same rules we had 3 years ago. And I'm like, but it's a different situation. So, anyway, but
Upgrade.
so
It's constant upgrade. The other thing I'll say to that is, for any man listening to this, or the masculine energy, if you're in a non traditional heterosexual relationship, it's all the same. If you're the masculine not doing this, you're leaving the feminine alone in the moment when she needs the most safety and connection. And eventually, neurologically, she'll start connecting you with danger. If you don't do this, if you keep turning away and walking away enough, eventually any need the feminine has is immediately activates her, but you're going to be dangerous as I need. It's just automatically, it'll become automatic. And that's the danger within 2 or 3 years. If you keep turning away thinking it's not that big a deal, why can't she understand she's making too much fuss? We'll talk about it when she's calmed down. All those moments of disengagement eventually translate to the feminine. I can't be safe with you as I feel unsafe.
yeah, it's really tragic. It's really sad
Yep.
because I know that I don't. I've never met a man that went into a relationship thinking, I can't wait to screw up this person's life.
No.
I've never met that man.
Nope.
And I believe every man I've ever met has at least in his deepest heart wanted to do well in relationship to his partner, wanted to, make her or him happy, wanted to be considered a good partner, a good man by them. And so but so much of this is skills, just learning skills, learning awareness and skills, practices.
I want to be a billionaire. I've got to earn it.
There are skills
These
that you
are
can.
earned.
That's
These
right.
are
You can earn
earned.
it.
We can want it. We can want all of this, but the words are cheap, Bryan. That's the thing that I think is coming through loud and clear. It is so easy to say, I just wish she'd love me. I just wish blah. I wish for world peace. Let's earn that.
Yeah, a friend of mine said it beautifully. I want to speak Spanish. I just don't want to learn to speak Spanish.
Yep. Yes.
I was like, okay, so you're not going to speak Spanish, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. I want to play the guitar beautifully, Bryan. I am never playing the guitar because I don't want to do the scales.
Exactly.
So it's firstly, we're going to be still.
Yeah.
Then we're going to.
So
what was the next?
So we see what's actually going on. Okay, she said something. Underneath it is her fear of alone, of being left, abandoned in some way.
Yep.
Okay, so stop. First off, just don't say the thing that I was going to react and say, watch what happened in my body. Okay, stop that. That's not helpful. Crossing my arms, turning away from her, rolling my eyes, not helpful. Don't do that. Stop.
Okay. Not helpful. Rolling the eyes.
Not helpful. Even internally, even if you think she can't see it, she can see it.
Yeah.
Step 3 is soothe. soothing myself,
Yes.
breathing, calming down. And I may even have to go for a walk. You know, I need a break, 20 minutes. I need to just step out so I can calm myself down, whatever it takes, you know. A lot of practices we can do there. But then now soothing my partner. I teach
And
a
because I just want to add some context is from the feminine perspective. So the masculines need to go away and you say, I'm just going to go for a walk. If you don't say exactly when you're coming back, you've just abandoned her. You cannot just say, I'm going to go for a walk and walk away. You have literally just declared, you're too big a deal for me. You're making it way too hard. You know what? I'm out of here. You deal with you. That is absolutely creating a relationship wound. To leave without saying exactly when you're returning and your willingness to face it directly when you return, you're literally earning lack of trust. You are literally earning, what you're doing is, I'm abandoning the relationship. So when you actually leave me and I get to blame you for abandoning the relationship, I left years ago every time I walked away and never came back.
Right. So that the skillful way of walking away is to say something like, I'm feeling really angry right now, really triggered. It's not your fault. I love you. I'm into you. I'll be back. I just need 20 minutes. I need 30 minutes or whatever. But you're right. I mean, not a couple days. No. No more than 24 hours at most, even for, I think, the most intense
don't
arguments.
Have lots of activities in between when you come back that they have to do together. When I coach people around this. So I'm going to leave. Let's go to this party together and this dinner party and do lots of things where we need to look like we're together. And you have to act like everything's fine because your abandonment needs aren't really that important. It's way more important we look good. Nope. There can't be major events you have to do together between those two times.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I am not for faking it for the audience.
No.
So, but and again, it's a soothing practice, and it's soothing because I'm being reassuring. It's not an step 3 isn't further aggravate your partner by just walking away without saying anything. That's not step 3. Yeah. That's not in the 4 steps.
Nope.
So I teach a skill called language needles that that was taught to me by my mentors who were fundamental in bringing acupuncture to the United States back in the 60s and 70s. They were teaching acupuncturists to, before you put a needle somewhere in a person's body, you need to learn how to be yourself, the needle, through how you're communicating, how you're talking. I mean, that's far more important than just where you insert a needle in a body. But the very basic and overly simplistic description of acupuncture is there's energy flow in the body, and it's either stuck and stagnant or it's overactive. In either case, there is a lack of balance, and disease will manifest in the body. Well, it's the same in a relationship context. We're either stuck and stagnant, not talking about the things we need to talk about, or there's chaos, and the minds are racing and the mouths are racing, and there's just too much going on. And in either case, whether stuck and stagnant or chaotic and overactive, there's no balance. A language needle is simply just like an acupuncture needle is placed somewhere in the body to restore balance. A language needle is a sentence placed into the relational space between us, or into my partner's ears, you could say. It's a sentence delivered that will help my partner calm down, help them feel, not just calm down, but help them feel safe. Really, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's take calm down off the table. That would activate me. And I know you said in other podcasts. We would never say calm down. No, we never ever say.
we don't. A language needle is not calm down. That's not a language needle. Let's be clear. That's a language sword. That's a language baton. That is.
It is.
But when I say calm down, what I really mean by that, look. Yeah. I found this great quote. I was doing this presentation for my Elevate Your Relationship, and we were making this point exactly that, and it said, this quote said something like, and I don't know who said, is anonymous, but never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down.
Never. It's activating, because it's basically saying how you're being is invalid. and therefore
Right.
I am going to invalidate you. It's
So
very harmful, especially
yeah.
on children.
So what a language needle does is it's the words that my partner needs to hear. It's not the words that I think they need to hear. It's the words they actually need to hear. So for example, my wife,
To feel soothed.
to feel safe, to feel soothed, to
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
connected, to feel like, okay, this person is on my side.
Yes.
So my wife needs to hear, there's two sentences that really help her feel safer with me in the moment. And one is, your feelings matter to me.
Yay.
Right? Your
Yeah.
feelings matter to me. And the other is, I'm with you. We'll figure this out together.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm with you. We're going to figure this out together. Right? Your feelings
Yeah.
matter to me. Now, notice both of those speak to the feminine objection, which is,
Yes.
don't leave me alone in this. Both of those tell her, you're not alone in this. I'm here with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, those words don't really work for me. They don't soothe me. If she
No.
says, and she said this early in our relationship, we had a fight one night, and I remember afterwards she texted me, I want you to know your feelings matter to me. My first thought was, I don't care. Why my feelings don't even matter to me? Why should I care if they matter to you? Again, it's, look, I've come a long way. I understand why that I need to hear that also. But
Yes.
more urgently, what helps me in a moment of being activated and upset is the language, that helps me. There's two of them as well that we have. One is, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. That word specifically, wrong.
That works for you.
It works great for me when I work with
Awesome
couples.
information. So your
I
wife knows how to love you and be there for you when you need her the most, because you've worked out your codes. This is so valuable.
Yeah, yeah. And the other sentence that helps me is, there's nothing you have to fix.
Love it.
Huh.
Oh my God, yes.
Huh. Like literally my body will, like we're looking for that breath, that
Yes.
that big sigh of, okay, I'm safe here. I can let my guard down because
Yeah.
she's on my side. It doesn't mean there's no upset happening. It doesn't mean, when I tell her your feelings matter to me, it's not me saying, okay, fine, I won't go to Burning Man because you don't want me
No,
to go. It's
exactly.
just, it's letting her know, look, I'm on your side. We'll figure this out. I'm not going to do anything that would cause you to feel threatened in our
Yes.
relationship. I'm committed to your safety more than I am committed to just me doing whatever the hell I please,
Yep.
regardless of its impact on you. Right? So that's
That
just one
sentence right there,
Yeah.
there. If men, husbands, partners, the masculine could make that true in their lives, would transform the relationship. You're feeling safe, soothed, loved, and worthy and accepted is more important to me than me just doing whatever I want. It changes the game. And my question is, why would anyone accept anything less? If that's not the standard in the relationship, I'm shopping. It's like, that's the
Well,
standard.
I agree, as well it should be, but look what was modeled to us by our parents. Not that.
As we
In
started this
most cases.
conversation,
Yeah.
culturally, there's so many ways we're told this conversation is not important to too many people. You can't expect me to remember all of that. Insert whatever the cultural excuse is now. So there's three. Is there another? Keep going.
Well, the fourth, and we sometimes don't even need to go to the fourth. It's solve or resolve. Four S's: see, stop, soothe, and then finally, the thing about step three. Here's what most of us do. Most of us skip step 2 and 3. We go from 1 to 4. So we go see, solve, see, solve. I call it the seesaw of insanity. Because we're not even seeing what is actually going on. We're up here at what I call the level of the complaint, right? We're not underneath really seeing what's going on here. So she doesn't want me to go to Burning Man. Oh yeah, well, here's the solution. I'm fucking going to Burning Man. There's nothing you can do about it. Or I'm going and you're going, or fine, I just won't go to Burning Man. That's the solution. But that's not a real true solution for me. That's just a capitulation because I want to avoid more conflict. And right, so we go in just that we just seesaw back and forth, 1 to 4. What happens when we can break that pattern, stop it in number 2, and 3, practice soothing skills? Now we're creating connection again. We're creating safety.
Safety.
I tell couples often, no good solutions come from a state of disconnection.
Nope.
None. You cannot
None.
have a good, useful solution when you're not connected with each other. That's the
I'd
power
go
struggle.
further. I'd go further in saying the feminine energy. I don't care about the solution. If I'm soothed and you see me and you accept me and you can be with me when I'm not all together and logical. If you can sit with me in my messiness,
Yeah.
my artistic creative zone, shall we call it? But let's call it
Yeah.
maybe messiness. I probably am not going to mind the solution. I'm really not. I'm not really dedicated to the solution. It's no big deal to me because you've heard me, seen me, accepted me, and loved me as I am. But, okay, enjoy.
And that's the magic of it. So that oftentimes, again, that step 4, it's not even really a thing. The solution works itself out in step 3. It's the connection that was wanting to be restored and honored and held dear, and that's the thing. But that's where, again, so many, particularly of us men, many women too, we don't understand that. We think that the content of the discussion or complaint is the thing that needs resolution,
Yes,
when really it's the
it doesn't.
connection that is being, that isn't felt, that is not being cared for and nurtured, because again, we especially guys, we're so clueless, and few women can articulate what that means when they don't feel connected. So it's like, again, we don't stand, it's a shit show out there, and I have so much compassion for people, but man, we can learn these
Learn the
skills.
skill. Learn the skill. Stop making excuses. I don't mean you are. It's like I say to men, because I do trainings and we talk about this all the time. It's like the new favorite topic with all my students around the world. And the men who identify as not having the skills, they are crying out for the skills. And it's 80% women, 20% men have the feminine energy, and 80% of the men are in the masculine energy. And all of them are saying the same thing. I need these skills. No one has ever told me this was available or an option. The other huge thing I want to talk about, Bryan, I love everything you just shared, and they're part of the skills. There's obviously so much more. Too many men, the masculine energy, live neck above, and they don't know that women are able to live neck down. And so this solution can't work for that. And to meet me where I'm at, I believe masculine energy, the man, needs to learn about this, because what they can't notice within themselves, they cannot honor within me. So if my sadness is here and the man does not know or recognize or even agree that he has sadness because of cultural conditioning and the way he was raised, he will not be able to honor my sadness, because he will try and logic it, because it's a concept to him and not a feeling state. So empathy will be missing. The need to soothe will seem irrelevant. Solutions will be offered rather than being with me. And if I can have my sadness honored, a lot of my resistance, my masculine resistance, comes down. I think sadness, grief, and loss, fastest way to a woman's heart, fastest way for me to reduce my defenses. If you can handle that, oh my God, you've got my heart.
And the very emotions men are most afraid of.
Yes.
Sadness, grief, loss.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of men our only access to real feeling is through our testicles. You know, through big experiences, extreme sports,
or anger.
And sex. So sadly, a lot of men in relationship to women, because we can't feel all the other things going on in our bodies, our testicles, our, you know, sex is an access to have feelings, and we look to our partner to provide access to that. But meanwhile, she can't feel us because we can't feel anything except that. And she's not going to open her body, which is what is both energetically but physically required for her to have sex with him. She is naturally going to want to resist, going to feel clenched herself. She's mirroring his clench. And now he's so frustrated that she doesn't want to give him what he wants, which is access to big feelings. And again, here we are. We're caught in, the spiral to crazy town. It's tragic.
It
So I agree
really
with you,
is.
Remy. I mean,
Yeah.
men learning to be in our bodies, even,
Yes.
when we were going through those 4 steps, that deep breath that I take when my wife says something that is activating, that is, when she's in a triggered state and says something that maybe isn't skillful or is from her own pain, the best thing I can do usually is take a deep breath first. So I'm dropping into my body. I can, again, where are my hands? Are my arms crossed? Am I slouching on the couch? A lot of men will have conversations with their partners just slouched on the couch or looking
And
away
not face the woman fully, kind
or
of
not in our
facing away and
bodies.
get in the
Yeah.
arm. Don't even bother speaking. There's no points. The other thing I would suggest for the masculine energy is to recognize, I think I've said it before, what's coming your way is a cry for connection. See it as the gift that it's intended to be. It may be really poorly wrapped, but if you really want to break this cycle and you want to connect closely, it's a very poorly wrapped gift. And I think for so long, Bryan, for all of time until now, it's been the woman's responsibility to become skilled in this. It's become the woman's responsibility to explain and teach. Bryan, enough. We all have access to Instagram. We all have access to your courses. We all have the same access to this knowledge,
Yeah.
Bryan.
Yeah.
Enough. It is not for the woman to suddenly develop more skills and get a psychology degree to figure out how to crack the code of getting into his heart.
Yeah.
I'm going to say to the man, it's your job to let her into your heart, and you need to learn the skills of how that can happen. Because I don't think women need to do any more emotional labor. And there's a massive generalization. I'll be more accurate. The feminine energy doesn't need to do all the emotional labor. Do it together, and the relationship becomes the interdependence that we strive for. Versus the independence versus I want to be dependent on you. I'm going to be independent. We come here with interdependence if we're both willing to lift the emotional log. I call it the emotional log. Pick up your end.
Well, I will say, I don't believe in 50-50 relationships.
No,
I believe in
absolutely
100-100 relationships.
Yes.
And I absolutely agree that we men have not been overwhelmingly have been we have not been caring for our 100%.
You've been discouraged from doing it. It's looked like a really long haul. Society has discouraged you looking that way. Women have too often gone into their masculine and picked it up. A lot more women now are saying, hey, you bring your 100%. I'm not picking up for you. So I think now the call is much louder.
And I think for eons, men have just assumed I'm fine. I'm not the crazy one. She is. There's nothing for me to do. I'm doing my part. Yeah. And
I put a roof over your head. Yeah. What more could you want? Literally have heard men say that.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just hearing the death knells of the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I often get chuckles from couples when I paint the picture of look, so long as no one's bleeding, the house ain't on fire, we don't have to call the cops, nobody's starving, we don't have any problems. Why are you upset? What's going on here?
Let me get started. The other thing you say in your book in chapter 16, let me just say this because I think it ties in. Women do not need to shrink themselves to find women do not need to shrink themselves to fit inside his limited capacity to love. And I think that ties into what you're saying. Women, don't make yourselves small to accommodate his lack of skill. Be you. It's up to all of us to upskill in this area and not to ever make anyone too much or make them feel they need to be smaller around us.
Absolutely. As I said, women have their 100%. Women can learn to be skillful too. I don't excuse women from the work they have to do, but I'm a man, and my work has been about calling men to our greatness. And I love doing intimate relationship work because I think this is a domain within which we men can be called into our greatness.
Yes.
But for too long we have been allowed to just get away with our worst. We've been enabled to, and I'm not blaming women. I mean, we gave you no choice. I mean, that the threat of violence, and exile, you've had no choice over the eons, but to just,
Financial reasons. I still know women who
all
are
of it.
in relationships where they're feeling completely invalidated, but financially and with kids, they don't see how they can face homelessness as their alternative.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. So I I don't blame anybody in particular, but it is time for us men to
It
to
is.
to step into our 100%. And my work over the years at times has been confronting to men. Some men
Yes.
immediately read my work and they go, "Dude, that man is onto something. I'm in." But a lot of men look at my work and go, "That dude's the devil. He's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's anti-man or this or that." Not at all. I love men. I
No.
love being a man. I have great compassion for our challenges. And
Yeah.
though I see how we men are, we are suffering. We are just surviving our relationships. We are not thriving in our relationships. And the cost to, yes, to our partners, but to ourselves is
Yes.
too great. It's too great. And my greatest work in my life, I would say, has been done in the context of intimate relationship. My biggest growth, my
Yeah.
capacity to feel alive. I mean,
It's
even
so
even
wonderful.
even my professional success has been served by me allowing myself, sometimes kicking and screaming, but to be influenced by my wife.
Yeah. So
and
you're
so,
familiar with the Gottman Institute?
yes.
Yeah, of course. So they
Mhm.
say that one of the ways to know the relationship's in terminal trouble is if the man will not be influenced by the woman.
Mm.
It's not the other
Mhm.
way around. It's very
Mm.
specific research.
Mm.
If the masculine energy will not be influenced by the feminine, the relationship is in stagnation and there is a separation. And I hear that and I know I've worked with the men who interpret that as I just have to submit, I just have to do whatever she says. That means I just don't have any freedom. They hear it as
Right.
so absolute and so
Yeah.
black and white, and it's so limited in how they're hearing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not what they're saying. Being
Yeah.
influenced means
Yeah.
both of our voices matter equally.
Yeah.
And I need to learn how to care about your voice as much as I care about my own. That
Yeah.
tends to be the generalized pattern of relationships. The masculine is, I want to do it my way. I want freedom. The feminine is, I want to connect. If you're going to be in a relationship and you don't know how to connect, go be free, which is what you say in the book repeatedly. If you
Yeah.
don't want this, go be free.
If a man can't learn to respect his wife and to at least be able to listen to her voice, to hear it, to take it in. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean he has to take it all in. He can say, "Honey, I can't take this in right now." I mean, but if he can't respect his wife's voice consistently, leave that woman, because staying with her is going to be torture for her.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. You said that in the book. It's really hard to hear, but it's true. I say that on the stage
Yeah.
all the time. If you're not showing up to create a loving relationship, to learn how to love, and to have her be her best self and you be your best self, go. Get
Leave.
out. You are causing a ruckus here. You are hurting her. You are hurting
Yeah.
yourself. If your
Yeah.
intent is anything but that, go do something else. You can fulfill your need for freedom with a career, with
Yeah.
travel. But to try to fulfill your need for freedom and be in a relationship and have everything you want your way, that's not dedication. That's not what you call devotion.
Yeah. Yeah. Byron Katie said, "Whenever someone leaves me, I know I've been spared."
Oh, I love
And
that. She does
I
say
love it.
that. I'd
Yeah.
forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
If you cannot, and I know it's hard for men. I get it. There's so much in the way. There's childhood stuff. There's shame.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
grandiosity. There's ambition. I get it. I get it.
Yep.
There's fear. There's fear. If I don't do it my way, I won't have the life I dream of. And I get it. It's a mess for us men, but
Losing control, entitlements, being told you're always right, not being questioned, not knowing how to handle conflict well without dominating. None of those skills are useful in what we're talking about.
and if
They're just not equipped for the job.
If you genuinely believe that your partner is in the way of you having the life you want, leave. Go. Leave. You are not doing her a favor by staying with her.
Yes, I love that. You talk about that in the book really well. In chapter 20, I wanted to bring attention to the 3 stages of love. I'll help you out because you have 60 chapters and I don't expect you to have a perfect memory of everything.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know you've had a long day. So you talk about the 3 stages of love. I loved this. I need you to love me.
Yeah.
I will love myself. I am love itself.
Yeah.
Can we shift gears a little bit? Do you mind talking to this a little bit? Because I really enjoyed this chapter and it's a lot of the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, this is, I first learned of the 3 stages of love when I was studying David Deda's work. And I as I studied with other teachers and dove into just the world of relationships, I saw that, wow, this 3 stages evolution of how we orient in relationship is universal. That first stage we would call codependency. And the way that I like to describe codependency, or at least set it up, is look, we're all born codependent. We're born babies completely unable to take care of ourselves. We are quite literally codependent. We're dependent on a caretaker. If they don't take care of us, we will die. Death, actual death is on the line. Well, for a lot of us, what happens is we don't develop healthy independence. That's that second stage. Because our parents don't model it for us. They don't necessarily assist us in becoming our own people. They resist it in various ways, or maybe we're thrown into independence so early through neglect. Latchkey kids. I would come home from school and my parents weren't there. That's what we call that, latchkey kids in the States. And so I just learned at such a young age that nobody's going to take care of my needs. So in a way, it creates a very strange kind of codependent as an adult. Well, here's the bottom line. We turn into adults that have not stepped into a healthy independence. So the feeling, I remember in my 20s, the thought of breaking up with a girlfriend, it felt like death. Like I'm going to die if I lose this relationship. I mean, I consciously, I knew that wasn't true, but the nervous system didn't know that. My nervous system was terrorized at the thought of losing a partner. And that's that little baby that inside that never, who was never stewarded out of its codependence into a healthy independence. We were never
taught co-regulation and then self-regulation. Very few people are taught the difference between love and enmeshment. Most of us are taught to either caretake other people's feelings and abandon our own, or only take care of our own. Most of us don't know love, Bryan, and I never dreamt I would say that sentence. Most of us are taught a form of codependence. We're encouraged to be codependent. It's celebrated. It's considered loyal. It's considered,
you complete me.
You've got to be generous. You've got to be giving. Don't be selfish. These are not the good messages, Bryan, but that's pretty well universal.
Yeah. I mean, all our pop songs and our movies, they as you said, they celebrate codependence. I'm not a whole person unless I have a partner. That's codependence.
And I can't be okay unless you're okay. And I can't feel good about myself unless you are giving me goodness, my direction. And because I can't feel joy, I'll tap into you and I'll make you responsible for feeling joy on my behalf. I'll co-opt you like a parasite. These are all labeled as love.
And so read that sentence back for stage 1. What is the I need? Remind me.
Yep.
I need you to love me. I need you to love me.
Hang on. I was busy moving on to my next point. So hang on one second. Yeah, I need you to love me, stage 2. And do you want me to read that or?
Yeah. Read.
I need you to love me. Not a reliable stage. It's ephemeral. So it is not consistently fulfilling. It hurts too much and disillusionment sets in. And then stage 2 is I will love myself.
Yeah. So that stage 2, that independence, Now we learn, okay, depending on external validation is unreliable. It's unsustainable. It doesn't work. It might work for a second, but it's going to go away. So now I'm going to learn to be my own independent person. I'm going to learn to
Yeah.
love myself. I will also love you as it's convenient to both of us. You know, we'll negotiate a love. I mean, this is the realm of 50-50 relationships. I'm going to do my part, but you got to do your
Yeah.
part.
Yep.
And so long as you're doing your 50, I'll do my 50. We'll be cool. We're good. You know,
We'll
I'll have
horse
my
trade.
we'll horse trade. I have my own bank account. You have your own bank account, right? We'll negotiate. We'll negotiate our needs, but
Mm.
I'm not taking any risks here.
Nope.
This is because codependence is risky. I'll die if you leave me in codependence. I'm not playing that game anymore. So no more risks. And a lot of adults get stuck in that stage, the lack of willingness to take risk. It's understandable, but it's
Yes.
also inevitably very lonely. And
And
if
we
not
have
just
to want
boring.
more for ourselves, Bryan. We must want more for ourselves. Don't settle for good. Go for the great. Go for the great love affair with yourself first.
And that's what stage two, I think the work of stage two is cultivating the love affair with yourself. It's
Yes.
there was a I haven't heard of this in a while, but here in the States there was a thing that was going on for a few years. One of my friends did it, the self marriage,
Yeah.
where someone would marry themselves.
Yeah.
And one of my friends did that. She even created an organization called Independent Awakenings to help young girls learn relationship skills so they could avoid abusive
Mm.
relationships, because that's what she had gone through, an abusive relationship. So stage two, independence. I will love myself. I will take care of myself. I'll meet all my own needs, and again, I'll negotiate you with someone
Yeah.
else, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, stage three is the recognition that, okay, that's all good and fine. And stage three is built on the foundation of stage one and stage two. Uh, it's, a lot of people want to go from stage one right to stage three. I've worked with couples that caught in the codependent dance, and they just want to go right to interdependence. But because it's the clever way that the mind gets to all the things I think I need in codependence to be okay. Well, I'll go do interdependence because that way I'll get the things I want. Well, well,
No.
slow your roll for a second. That's very clever little egoic play there. But
Yeah.
it's only by cultivating that connection to self, the
Yes.
foundation of a strong center and a strong sense of self,
Yes.
and you use that word at the beginning, authentic. Who am I? Really having clarity around who I am and what I stand for and what
That's
matters to me
it.
and what my needs are and my
Yes.
desires and all of that. Well, now I can step into the interdependent dance, which is, okay, now I just want to give my gift. Like I'm here in relationship. It looks like, yeah, this is where it really becomes magic. It's not easy and it's still messy, but it's now I'm living in that question again. What would serve we? How do I
Yes.
show up in a way where, in codependence, I call that the 100-0 relationship.
Yep.
Only
Yes, it
one
is.
person gets to be in the room at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that third stage, 100-100, we both get to be in the room.
Mm.
But I'm far more focused on how am I showing up as a gift to this relationship. My focus is on that more so than it is on what is she doing that is
Yeah.
a gift to me. And
Yes.
sometimes being a gift to the relationship is also speaking to my boundaries, being clear about what my needs are. I mean, that being able to say to my partner, um, I need you to talk to me differently about this. When this subject comes up, please approach me differently, because when you do it this other way, it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't feel, it's not
Mm.
working for me. Right. That's, notice it's not the obligation of stage one, do this or else. It's not the hey, you don't have to do anything, I'm just going to do what I do and I'll take care of me and I'm good, I got me, of stage two. It's the interdependent, like
Yeah.
I know who I am, I know what I need, I know what I want, I love you, you're fantastic, and there's nothing wrong. And though come at me a little different, please. Can you dance with me a little different in this way? Because it would certainly serve me, and who knows, it might even serve you. I think now we're into a beautiful interdependent,
Yeah.
like we get to need each other again. I get to need my partner. It's risky. I take risks again in this interdependent dance. I allow her, I'm vulnerable. I share again with her. Like if we're going to dance with each other, I do have certain needs. You don't have to meet them, but if we're going to dance, this is what I need. And I love you. Again, remember I said earlier, invitation, not obligation, right? Stage 1 is all obligation. Stage 3, I say, is pure, beautiful invitation. But it's an ongoing invitation. It's a dance in which we are both, choose her every day or leave her. I am choosing my wife. I'm waking up every day choosing my wife. That means choosing her sensitivities, choosing her upsets, choosing the way that she needs to go through her life. I'm choosing all of her. I'm communicating my needs in that dance also. I'm not abandoning myself to choose her. It's a dance. I mean, she's choosing me as well.
If you abandon, self-abandonment's codependence. And
that
what I
won't
love
go well.
I love that model. That was one of my favorite things, because to me, to get to stage 3, we all need to move to adult, mature love, and which is love of self, which is understanding our needs, our emotions, and our boundaries. Nobody gets to interdependence without being clear on who we are, what we value, what we prioritize, what are the non-negotiables for us, and then taking the risk of communicating them and risking old relationships where there was perhaps codependence. I've been through this over the last few years as I've moved more and more out of codependence. Old relationships have not survived the I now know who I am and what's healthy for me test. And that's part of it. But if we don't do that, we can't ever get to the beauty of being love, of interdependence. We can't get there by skipping it and not taking the risks. It's the price of entry.
Yeah. And it is, I guess you could say the motto of that stage 3 is I am love. I'm already love. I am the love I seek. I can now give from my fullness rather than trying to fill up my emptiness with whatever I can rob off of you. I am the love I seek, and I want to dance with you. I want to expose the raw places in me that still need love, that maybe aren't so pretty and put together. In stage 2 independence, I don't really want to talk about that stuff so much because I'm doing the work. That's for me to do. But in stage 3, now, I mean, I do believe that there are some wounds and pains that can only be healed, or at least worked with in relationship.
I agree.
And
the trauma was caused in relationship. The healing is going to happen in relationship by being mirrored and having the space created and being heard and having someone be present as we express that hurt, and it received without any judgment, any caveats, any debate, any corrections. It's just received. It is one of the fastest pathways to healing.
And the last thing I want to say about these 3 stages, because we're being thorough here, is that we can move through all 3 stages in 60 seconds when we have skill and practice. And what that could look like is what that could look like is my wife could say something. My immediate reaction could be a codependent thought of how dare you, I need you to, how dare you do that, blah, blah, blah. That could be my initial instinctive reaction. 5 seconds later, once I see that crazy thought. Woo, boy, glad I didn't open my mouth. Glad I practiced what Bryan taught me in that podcast and kept my mouth shut, because that wasn't going to go well. Okay, so now I'm moving into stage 2. I'm seeing myself. I'm like, okay. I'm soothing myself. I'm okay. Actually, I don't have to react in the way that I thought I was, that I first thought I would have. Right. So now I'm kind of working through. I'm okay. The thing that she just said, it's not a statement on my character. It doesn't mean anything in particular. It's just a moment, right? That's my stage 2 practice. Stage 3, now I'm soothing. I'm putting my hand on her saying, babe,
Yeah.
it's okay. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. I'm with you. I
I'm
love
with you.
you. Your feelings matter. We'll figure this out. Right. That's that. Now I'm in a stage 3 practice. I'm giving the gift of my presence and my loving
Yeah.
and my compassion to her. And so again, and that can happen in 60 seconds when we have the skills. When we don't have the skills, we're stuck in stage 1
Yep.
indefinitely, or what a lot
Yes.
of couples do, they bounce back and forth between stage 2 and stage 1. When
Yes.
independence collapses, they go right back into their codependence.
Yeah. Yes. And the patterns just loop around and around and around. And it can be really, for anyone listening to this who relates to this, I know a lot of people relate to this. Yes, it can seem challenging when you want to break out of that loop and move to stage 3. Not everyone follows you. Nobody else
That's right.
heard the call that you heard. You heard the call to step up into your authenticity, to learn what love is. Nobody around you signed up to the same thing. That's your journey. Not everybody else has to get it. We need to want to love and know ourselves enough that it matters, regardless of the codependent need to have everybody still approve of us.
Absolutely. And you can't obligate someone to meet you in that stage 3 dance. That's just you being back in your own codependence. You
Yes.
can invite them. You can be the invitation. I've
Yes.
experienced that. It's like the refusal to do the old dance we used to do. I'm not going to have the conversation the way we've had it all these years. I'm not doing this anymore. This is getting us nowhere. The way that we talk to
Perfect.
each other, the disrespect, the demands, the just constantly violating each other's boundaries. I'm not doing this anymore. I love you. I love you far too much, and I love myself far too much to keep doing this with you. Join me over here. I mean, I would never necessarily say those words, but I want to do it in a new way. Will you join me? And you're right, Remy. They just may not be ready to join you. They may not be ready. They if they don't have the skills, or maybe they haven't hit enough pain yet. I don't know. I mean, there's so many factors involved, right? But that can be really hard to be with.
Again.
But
Yeah.
that's part of the again the beauty of I think of stage 3 is it requires our willingness to live with a broken heart.
Yes.
It requires our willingness to be hurt, to lose the thing that we think we need or want. But if it isn't serving, if it's just, it's not serving me, it's not serving you, it's not serving we, I'm not doing this anymore. And that can be really, really hard to be with.
Yeah, beautifully said, Bryan. Thank you so much. We didn't give your book justice. It's terrific, and I've got so many notes that we didn't get to, and I do appreciate we did some of it very well, and there's still so much more of it to be explored. So thank you so much for that. And the book, Bryan, is Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her, a guide for your journey through the transformational fires of love and intimacy by Bryan Reeves with a Y. Thank you. I've had it for about 6 months. I've been looking forward to chatting with you for a while. So I really appreciate it. And where can we get the book?
So the book, if you're in Australia, it is available. Where do y'all buy your books in Australia? I mean, you got Amazon. It's on
at a bookstore, Bryan.
What's that? Never heard of it. I don't know
exactly.
What that is. Do those exist over there?
In Australia, you can get it from Booktopia.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure it's on Booktopia. I have links on my website, bryanreeves.com. It's Bryan with a Y, Reeves.com. Even international links, but I don't. But it's on Amazon everywhere. I think it is on Booktopia actually. And
what's the program you've got? I've heard you mention a program called Elevate.
Yeah, so I'm really focusing on working with men, on really supporting men. I don't think there's enough. There's so many opportunities for women these days to learn, and there's opportunities for men to learn alongside women as well.
Yes,
there's not a lot of opportunities for men to learn with men and alongside other men in ways that are both challenging but safe and respectful and elevating. So I've created two programs called one's called Elevate. Elevate 2023 is my year-long coaching program for men that is launching in January, although we're already half full with that. So if a man is interested, it's on my website, bryanreeves.com/elevate. And the other is Elevate Your Relationship. Again, it's a relationship program for men that are ready and hungry to elevate their relationship game, whether single or in relationship. I did a lot of relationship study when I was single. Like, I was preparing to meet my wife. Because I just knew one day there's going to come a woman that I do not want to lose.
I love this.
So I did a lot of that work as single. And then, of course, I met her, and then the real work began.
Yes.
And I've continued it, and so, for men, whether they're single or in relationship, this is what I love about this. And we talked about this at the beginning. It's like men coming together. Now, I have a whole curriculum. We dive into all kinds of specific topics, like from navigating conflict, the 4 S's that I shared, mastering repair, even how to give a good apology.
Yes, we didn't cover that. I wanted to cover that another time. That's so important.
We'll do this again. I would love to.
Oh, it's so important a conversation. We could do a whole podcast on how to show up and repair. It's such an important conversation.
It is such an important conversation. Agreed. So in my Elevate Your Relationship program, we dive into that. And again, it's men doing this work as men alongside men. There's something magic that happens when we men come together in these safe spaces and just get to say the things that we need to say, that sometimes we can't say when any woman is around. So I'm very proud and very excited for this program, and it's active now. Men can apply for that if they go to bryanreeves.com/EYR. bryanreeves.com/EYR. That's Elevate Your Relationship. Those are my 2 courses, my 2 live coaching. You work with me directly. It's not just an online program you do by yourself. No. We work together.
I love that. And everyone can get together and you go through the methodologies that we barely scrape the surface in this conversation. And do they get opportunities as well? I think what would really matter is to maybe bring their own relationship challenges to the conversation, say, so this is what's happening.
Absolutely.
It's a mess, and I'm sure it's her fault. Is that there are opportunities for that to be discussed?
Absolutely. Again, it's a live coaching experience, so men get to bring what they get to have their problems handled and
I love it,
and looked at and examined and challenged, and it's a beautiful experience for men. Yeah.
This wouldn't have existed 15 years ago. What a gift. It wasn't available when I began in this profession. There were not opportunities for men to come together and talk about what needed to be talked about. This is wonderful. There were men's clubs, and then there was the clubs where they go and hammer things or whatever they do in the men's shed.
I love hammering things. I love it.
Hammering things is wonderful.
But
the conversation that can help us connect more deeply with our partners, with the people in our lives, with our children, not being taught at home, not being taught in schools, needs to be taught. This is vital.
100%.
Thank you, Bryan.
And you know what? This wouldn't exist without my wife's influence. I would not be doing this work in this way without my wife's influence. That's a story for another time.
Yes.
But,
what's your wife's name?
Her name is Sylvie. She's amazing. Sylvie Kukassian. She's an incredible, extraordinary woman. She does similar work in her own right. And I'm thank God I learned how to be influenced by this woman.
Yes.
My life is so much the better for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Bryan. This has been wonderful. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
Same, Remy. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. I trust you enjoyed this episode of BraveHeart. You may have noticed it's rebranded from Perspectives if you've been following along. It's simply to move my messaging more in alignment with what I'm navigating right now in my life and have been for the last several years. So Perspectives was a wonderful exploration and a real indulgence to talk with anybody on any subject anywhere in the world that I wanted to. And I loved that. BraveHeart is me narrowing the scope tremendously. And so the conversations in BraveHeart are going to be with people who have experienced or are experienced in and with relationships, with relationship with self, with raising consciousness, with connecting more deeply with self and with others, with the conversations that are happening more and more that to me are the most important conversation we can ever have. The most important journey we will ever have is how to accept ourselves fully and in grace, and by doing so, create a loving space for others as well. This is, to me, what matters, and is probably after 20 years, it's become what I recognize as what I was attempting to do in different ways and iterations all the time, and now it's just there with BraveHeart. If you'd like to know more about BraveHeart, you can head to my website, remypearson.com, and you can click on the button there. There's a link that says BraveHeart and find out more about it. We're building a community of like-minded people all around the world who understand that this is the journey that matters the most. So if you haven't had an opportunity yet just to check it out, go on through. There should maybe a button around here, maybe not, and find out what BraveHeart's all about. And in the meantime, I really want to thank you for being here, for tuning in, for showing up, for leaving your great comments, for sending me emails, for interacting however you choose to with this message. And I love that you're with me. Thank you so much.